Before anything existed, Meme Wenungi, the grandfather of creation, began to make the things we now see around us. He made the waters of the rivers, the lagoons and the streams. He created the jungle with all its trees and plants, and then he began to create the animals. The good ones, like the wild pigs, turkeys, cassowaries, toucans, parrots and monkeys. The ones that can harm, like the tiger and the snakes, also appeared, and the big ugly tapir. Next came the fish, lizards and turtles in the water, and when the jaguar gave birth to us, we, the Horani, appeared. Wenungi gave us the living earth. It is like us, a thinking living being, as if it had blood. Like a person, the earth breathes and the water flows, like our blood. If we love the earth, it is because it is full of life. If it gives life, it is because it has life to give, so much life that the animals shout with joy. The earth supports plants and animals, and the more we care for it, the more life it will have. The earth is either happy or sad, depending on how we treat it.
This man is called Nyame Enomenga, and he is the last generation of a tribe, the Huarani, which tragically has been condemned to disappear. Nyame lives with his family in Nenkipari, a small settlement on the banks of the river Shiripuno. He is married to Vara, and just a short time ago they moved to this place in the heart of the equatorial Amazon. The Huarani are a people of only 1,500 members, but their importance and notoriety have for at least a century been much greater than their mere numbers. Until just 30 years ago, even for their closest neighbors, they were more like ghosts than real people. They controlled an area of around 20,000 square kilometers and fought off much larger tribes, and even the all-powerful oil companies and the government itself. Despite this, little or nothing was known about them. The Huarani had no past, no history. They came from the darkest depths of time. The majority of the Huarani now live in the jungle of the Yasuni National Park, a reserve in eastern Ecuador in the provinces of Napo and Pastaza, which covers 1 million hectares of tropical Amazon forest. Yasuni forms part of the so-called Napo enclave dating from the Pleistocene. It is one of the 10 places in the world with the greatest biological diversity. The Amazon ecosystem, and especially the rainforest, is considered one of the world's most complex animal and plant habitats. Its most important characteristics are the sheer number of different animal and plant species and the extraordinary variations in macro and micro habitats. In this park alone, over 100 species of tree per hectare have been identified. To give us some idea of the scale of this number, in the richest, densest jungles of Central America, the equivalent figure is no more than 40. But it was not this, but rather the incredible diversity of animal life that prompted UNESCO to declare it a World Biosphere Reserve in 1979. The most recent investigations have come up with spectacular statistics. Over 500 species of bird, 62 snakes, and over 100 amphibians, 43 of which are tree frogs alone. 173 different mammal species have been officially recorded, though it is thought that the true figure could be over 200, 70% of all the mammals in Ecuador. The canopies of the trees are the almost exclusive territory of birds and monkeys. Up there they find safety away from the dangers of the dark forest floor. Down in the world beneath the canopy of the forest, danger is ever present, and vigilance a constant necessity. There is always someone stronger and faster on the lookout for something to kill and to eat. The Amazon forest is a biological museum. It contains by far the greatest collection of life on our planet. No man-made museum even comes close to rivaling the rainforest in the number of different exhibits. No library or computer network could possibly contain the amount of information stored in the chromosomes of the organisms that make up the forest. The vast canopy of the tropical rainforest stretching right to the Atlantic coast begins at the foothills of the Andes. As we move higher, the forest gives way to increasingly sparse vegetation until we finally reach the snow and the glaciers. These peaks, covered in perpetual snow, are the source of the thousands of rivers and streams which eventually form the Amazon, the mighty river of rivers. The Andes mark the enormous dividing line running right through the continent, which forces rivers to flow either into the Atlantic or the Pacific. All those on the Atlantic side, without exception, form part of the Amazon system, by far the largest river basin in the world. The largest tributary of the Amazon is the Napo, which traditionally has marked the natural limits of the territories of the Guarani. Until 50 years ago, they were the lords and masters of these forests and waters. For centuries they lived here, isolated and forgotten, scattered in small groups or families. There have never been any roads or paths here, and the only way to get from one settlement to another is along the small rivers that flow into the Napo. And these waterways are also the only way into and out of the area. But the Guarani are not good sailors, have never undertaken long journeys, and have had virtually no contact with other tribes. They never made use of the rivers, and if they wanted canoes, they acquired them by trading with neighboring tribes like the Swa or the Quichua. Protein they obtain not from the animals that live in the river, but from the large mammals to be found in the forest. Until about a year ago, Nyame and his family lived in Queirono, one of the most important settlements along the Chiripuno, a tributary of the Napo. But natural resources were running out and were not enough to feed the 160 members of the community. So Nyame decided to move out and settled in a different place, 2 days' walk from Keiweirono. He and his son Gala and his brother Uwe are about to go out to hunt. They live by hunting and on the plants that grow wild, which make up 90% of their diet. Inside the hut, they prepare their weapons. While Gaya repairs and fills the blowpipes, Uwe makes the darts from bamboo cane. Nyame, meanwhile, doesn't stop talking, recounting 1,001 battles of the time when he was the best hunter in Keiweirono. Gaya and Uwe listen, resigned for the umpteenth time to the same story. Today, the majority of young men have rifles and shotguns and have given up the blowpipes, now used only by the oldest members of the tribe. Once Uwe has finished making the darts, he sits by the fire and smears them with curare. Curare is a powerful, deadly poison which paralyzes the nervous system, blocking the muscles of the diaphragm, so the animal dies of suffocation. It is used by many ethnic groups in the Amazon, and each tribe has its own secret formula. Some use a base of poisons from frogs and snakes, though the Warani use the root of the maracure, a highly toxic plant. The hunter meticulously covers each of the darts, which he then places by the fire for the poison to dry. The next step is to put a ball of cotton on the end of each arrow to plug the blowpipe, so when they blow, the arrow will come out with force and speed. Finally, Wei uses the jawbone of a piranha to make a groove at the end of the dart seeped in curare. When the dart hits a monkey, its first reaction is to try to pull it out, and because of the groove, the tip of the dart breaks off and remains inside the animal. Meanwhile, Nyame prepares a spear. Whenever they go out hunting, they decorate the spear with a red dye, which they extract from the wenka, a seed particularly appreciated by the Warani, and which they also use to decorate their bodies. The wenka, like the curare, is used by a number of Amazon tribes. Everything is ready for the hunt. All they have to do now is to check the blowpipes are not blocked or bent. Wei comes out of the hut and chooses as a target a tree trunk about 20 meters away. Shooting with the blowpipes is the Warani's favorite pastime, and they are always competing to see who is the best marksman. At the end of April, storms approach every day, and in just a few minutes the sky becomes heavy and dark. It is the rainy season, and nowhere else in the world does it rain with such fury as in the Amazon. The water which collects on the ground is absorbed by the roots of the trees and bushes, and from there is drawn up the trunk and the branches to the leaves. During daylight hours, the water evaporates from the surface into the atmosphere in a process known as evapotranspiration. It has been estimated that more than half the rain that falls in the Amazon basin returns to the atmosphere from the foliage of the trees. The next morning, Nyame, his younger son Moi, Ue, and Gaya leave Nenkipari and go deep into the forest. The color of their skin is the best camouflage in the forest. Even Gaya and Moi take off their western clothes when they go hunting. They feel shame at going naked because they see it as a symbol of savagery, but they respect their father and uncle whose only clothing is the kome, a string around the waist to hold their penis up against the stomach. The Warani are incredibly superstitious, and dreams are also important when it comes to hunting. They can tell the hunter where to hunt, and he must be able to interpret them. Dreaming of falling in love or seeing a woman are signs of good luck, while dreaming of the dead is a sign of danger. To avoid bad luck, they wait 2 days after a bad dream before setting out. But if they have had a good dream, they leave immediately. They find the animals thanks to their tracks and the smell they leave on the ground, the plants and the trunks, the noise they make as they move across the ground or in the trees, and from the fruits they leave behind, half-eaten. Wei has seen a monkey jump, and he imitates the noise it makes so it replies and he can locate it. The hunters have found a family of monkeys. They make noises and move the branches to distract them and keep them close. Gaya prepares the darts for his younger brother, who will shoot. The target is not an easy one because the monkeys are constantly moving. Moi follows the movements of the monkeys, watched carefully by his father. With his first shot he has missed, but he will still have a second opportunity. While the 4 hunters continue to try to shoot down a monkey, the women remain in the village looking after the children and doing the domestic chores. Nyame's wife Vara is making rope from chambida, a vegetable fiber they use to make baskets and fishing nets. In the next hut along, Luana, Gaya's wife, is preparing tayabo, a dye used to color the chambida, and which is obtained by crushing the leaves of a tree they call nyanya. The tayabo, like the wenka, is used to paint their bodies, especially by the women. Moi also missed with his second shot, and the monkeys have escaped. But luckily they soon find another group, and Ue again makes noises to distract them. This shot is vital. It's getting late and clouds are again covering the sky, threatening rain. Gaia and Uwe take over. When the Warani come close to a potential victim, they start to make frenetic movements imitating the movements of the animal. They can reach a real state of frenzy. A monkey has been hit and in a few minutes will die from suffocation. In its fall, the monkey has got caught on a branch and Gaia has to climb up to retrieve it. A matter of seconds later, the storm unleashes its fury. Gaia throws the monkey down to Uwe, who rapidly prepares it for transport. The rain becomes more intense and it's almost nightfall. They have a long walk back to Nenkipari and they know that being out in the jungle at night is dangerous. The Warani believe the best time to hunt is at dusk, when the crickets began chirping. Today has been a lucky day. On their way back, they came across another group of monkeys and were able to kill 3 of them. It's a long time since they last killed so many in a single day. Since the young began hunting with shotguns, the animals have moved to remote, inaccessible places. It is more and more difficult to hunt with blowpipes, and soon this weapon will become simply part of history. When the hunters arrive back at the village, they throw the animals onto the ground, and they now belong to their wives. The Warani don't know how to preserve meat. As soon as it has been cooked, they will eat until every bone has been left clean, even if this means they are too full to eat for days. The experiences of the hunt inspire many stories and conversations. A returning hunter is questioned by everyone, and the entire community knows of his success or of his failure. Though the river has traditionally played little part in the lives of the Warani, they have been forced to fish, especially at times when hunting is scarce. They don't fish in the rivers, but rather in the shallow streams and pools. Only the younger members of the tribe know how to swim. The technique they use is simple but very effective. They temporarily poison the river. For this they need barabasco, a wild and relatively scarce liana containing toxic substances which eliminates all the oxygen in the water, but without harming the environment. Once the nets are ready and the barabasco has been crushed so it dissolves easily in the water, Nyame and Vara go into the pool and start spreading the poison, washing the lianas several times.
ra bờ. Nhìn này. Đó cái này quá này cái gì? Đấy.
In a few minutes, small fish start appearing in what had seemed to be a stagnant, lifeless pool. The couple carefully collect them and store them in a banana leaf. As with hunting, the Guarani have their beliefs about fishing. They never eat the head of the fish because if they do, they will never be able to fish again. Fishing, especially in the pools and streams rich in nutrients washed down from the slopes of the Andes, is a guaranteed source of protein, but no Amazon society bases its diet on fish. In less than an hour, Vara and Nyame have collected enough fish to eat. The banana leaf now contains up to 12 different species. Meanwhile, Wei and Gaia cut down trees. Traditionally, this was done to clear ground for planting. But for several years now, wood has been a good source of income, and the Guarani sell it to the Colombian timber merchants. In the pool, Vara grows juca and medicinal plants. Juca is a tuber with a very high calorific content, only rivaled by the plantain and rice. Nowadays, less than 1% of the tribes of the jungle obtain their food from hunting and gathering. The vast majority now depend entirely on agriculture.
In the past, our life in the jungle was a life of innocence, far removed from civilization, progress, and development. Until the rubber planters, the missionaries, the oil companies, and the colonists arrived. People who did not know our jungle, who destroyed our peace, and made us aggressive to all outsiders.
The destruction of the Guarani people began in 1967 when the American company Texaco drilled the first oil well. Since then, 22 production plants have been built, 399 wells and over 500 kilometers of pipeline, and the impact on the environment has been disastrous. In 32 years, over 70 million liters of crude oil have been spilled. Over 100,000 liters of toxic waste has been poured directly into the rivers. 1 million hectares of forest have been cleared, and over 235 million cubic meters of gas have been burnt in the open air, affecting a population of 300,000 indigenous peoples. Many of them now suffer from everything from skin diseases to cancer, as well as all the viruses brought by the white men: smallpox, measles, whooping cough, plague, typhus, dysentery, flu.